Welcome into Vandy on SI. I'm Joey Dwyer here from SEC Media Days. Vanderbilt just wrapped up its session. Diego Pavia, Clark Lee, Ryan Fontenette, and Martel Height all spoke to the media. And I think the big thing I took away from today is the level of confidence that they have. And that wasn't a surprise. I talked to Clark Lee earlier this month in an exclusive interview that's on Vandy on SI. But you could just sense in that interview and in the spring with Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers, they think they can compete for a national championship, and people are going to say they're nuts. And I talked to Diego Pavia about it today. I told him that. I said, I think people probably think you're crazy, right? And he said, yeah, probably. But that's why Diego Pavia is where he is, and that's why this program has gotten to where it is. So I don't think it should be a surprise that Diego Pavia goes in front of a scrum of 50 media members and is Diego Pavia, speaks his mind. And it shouldn't be a surprise at all, right? Because that's who he is. That's what this program has become. And just think about it. I think it's interesting to think about a year ago versus today. You think about Clark Lee came in here, he had to articulate a vision of, well, we were 2-10 last year, but we're going to figure it out. We've changed the staff, all these things. We still got an open quarterback competition. This year, one of the quarterbacks he spoke of pretty vaguely this time last year on what seemed to be kind of a script as to how he was going to approach it. This year, you look at it, and that quarterback is the star of the show. He's got 50 media members surrounding him at all times. You can't even see the podium that he's sitting on. And he delivers. Like, this is Diego Pavia, this is his personality, and it didn't change. And I actually thought he was a little more toned down today than he had been in the past. But again, like he says, I want to come back and win a national championship. We know that that's the case, but everyone gets to see it now. Everybody sees the Pavia experience. People say, do you feel like you've lost maybe your upset potential? And he goes, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas don't have that, and they still find a way to win, so why can't we? That's what you get from Diego Pavia, and you got it from Clark Lee today too. He said he thinks they can play into January. His confidence was high. I don't see any way where it wasn't going to be that way. And Martel Height said the same. I think Martel Height's remarks, while they were meant to be politically correct, were maybe the most telling of the day when I asked him about potentially playing for a national championship in January. I mean, he said, like, all we got to do is really hone in on the details and follow the process. He knows, or he thinks at least, like they don't have to be super out of character. They don't have to force a million turnovers or have a bunch of fluky wins. Like, they could just be themselves and find a way to the college football playoff, to the championship. It's unbelievable to hear Vanderbilt talk like that. I've never seen a player with the scrum that Diego Pavia did or anywhere near it from Vanderbilt. They've often been irrelevant in the grand scope of this event. This year I thought they had, besides Arch Manning, probably the guy who's going to have the biggest impact on the event, probably the most compelling speaker at the event. Diego Pavia, I think, stole the show today, and I don't know that should be any surprise based off of knowing who he is and how he operates. I thought Martel Height was also a noteworthy guy to talk to today, though. I think I almost asked him, like, are you sick of getting receiver questions? Because that's all. I mean, I talked to him one-on-one, and that'll be up on the site in a few days and maybe tomorrow, but it's like that was the whole talk of the day. It was Martel Height playing receiver, and I think it should be. I think we also did get some clarity about that. I talked to Clark Lee about it a couple weeks ago, and he clarified that they were going to use him there, but Clark said every game he thinks Martel is going to play three ways. He's going to play on offense, defense, and special teams. I think that matters. I think that's certainly noteworthy, and that's going to be something that we look back on as maybe a season-defining thing here. Because if he's half as good of a receiver as he is a corner, I think they're in good shape there. So Martel Height, another story of the day, but again, another thing too, AJ Newberry's health coming along. Clark Lee told us that this morning in the local media kind of scrum. He said AJ Newberry is probably going to be ready for Charleston Southern, which I think is good, and I wonder if his role changed a little bit. Would like to follow up on that. I don't know if this is out there yet, but he also said Kiva Wesley has been experiencing some sort of injury this summer. I don't know exactly what the timeline is there. Didn't really specify, but other than that, they're healthy, and again, like, the belief is the story today. I don't know if there's any other way to put it. We talked to him about Steve Gregory, who obviously had good things to say about. We talked about Martel Height. We talked about AJ Newberry. We talked about all these things, and I have a few one-on-ones. I got one-on-ones with Pavia, Height, and Fontenette, but you just look at the overwhelming trends, and it's well, these guys believe they can do it. These guys believe that they don't have to be completely out of character to do it. And their quarterback is the star of SEC Media Day a year after really nobody knew who he was. And I talked to him on the way down over that escalator, and he goes, yeah, like, it's definitely different. And I think he gravitates towards that. I think people gravitate towards him. And that's what Vanderbilt's going to be, is a program that people gravitate towards for one way or another. I wrote it today, but Diego Pavia, last year nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew who Vanderbilt's quarterback was going to be outside of the fan base. Oftentimes when you come to a place like this, they're somewhat of an afterthought. And you get here and you see the swarm and you hear all the people's opinions about him. Some love him, some hate him, some think he's arrogant, some thinks he's a genius. They know who he is and they care. And I think for that reason they're following Vanderbilt football. That's what today taught me. It taught me the scope of Diego Pavia's reach, and it taught me the real level of expectation around this program. So that's all for SEC Media Day. We'll probably do something about the MLB draft, but excited to get the YouTube rolling here. Check out everything on the site. Another workhorse day. Both the Riley Nelson and Sawyer Hawk signings with their respective professional teams. Have a few exclusive interviews coming, so get on the train now at Vandy on SI. Talk to you soon. Peace.